Hey everyone, it's Ken Scott, Senior, U.S. Immigration Law Intelligence Analyst with US Entry Waiver Services.com. So we resolve all of your USA border crossing issues. So today is August 26, 2022. I'm just here at the Surrey office. Want to do a quick video on a topic you guys likely will find appealing. And the topic is, what is the difference between deportation and denied entry? Deportation and denied entry. So got some feedback on the video content that we put out, and apparently 99.9% of the people are happy, which is an understatement, with the content and how it's presented. The only one person who growled was a small trivial troll, but he growls at anything. So even his own shadow. But anyway, so beyond the troll, we thank you guys for your support. We thank you guys for the fact of being our loyal clients and all that good stuff. So let's get right into it. The difference between deportation and denied entry. Well, bottom line, both items, how can I say this? Both items are, I don't want to say similar, but both items have the effect of keeping you out of USA. Let's just start with that. Now, that's the keeping you out of USA. So, in terms of the deportation, that's the best way to explain that. That's more like, I would say, a formal removal where documentation is required to allow you to gain entry back to the USA, where you've been formally removed by the American government. Removed meaning we won't say a simple denied entry where say come back shows proof you're living in Canada.
Mental health hotline. If you are obsessive compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you.
Oh, hey there. Yeah. I mean, cash is fine if you can do it. Yeah, well, always, yeah. Yeah, e-transfer works as well. Oh, okay, okay, sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, my pleasure. So, okay. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So I was talking about a deportation. So a deportation basically is a formal removal where documentation is required to be submitted and approved before you are allowed to re-enter the USA. So that is different as opposed to a simple denied entry where, let's say if the guard or the officer thinks that you're trying to move to USA and he does not give you the deportation/5-year ban, he says basically come back and show us documents that you're living in Vancouver. And that's the ties and equities, yada yada. That's also a topic for another video and another service we provide. In that sense, you are not deported. He basically sent you home to obtain all the documentation to show that you have your proper ties and equities in your home country, which is here. This is also how some of you guys get burned at that border, because you go down to that border and let's say you're going to Birch Bay and the officer says, "Where do you live?" And you say, "Well, Birch Bay," or "I'm going to my home in Birch Bay." Wrong answer. You do not live in, if you're living in Vancouver, Canadian, and you do not have US citizenship or US green card, you do not live in Birch Bay, Washington State. Let me say that again. You do not live in Birch Bay, Washington State. I don't give a flying flamingo if you've got a vacation property there at the Beechwood Resort, let's just say, and you go to all the local pubs there, which I've been to in the past, yada yada. Like I used to go crabbing in Birch Bay. Um, You do not live in Birch Bay. I'm gonna say it one more time. You do not live in Birch Bay. Even if your property that has utilities in your name and water, hydro, and sewage and etc., you do not live in Birch Bay. Even if you're down there 4 or 5 months, you do not live in Birch Bay. And I hate to be a parrot because some of you guys, you make this big mistake and it gets you screwed. You are only going to your vacation property in Birch Bay. Now, you may stay there 5 months, but you're not living there. You're only staying at your vacation property. You live in Vancouver. And you guys might think this is trivial. These guards, these officers, it's not trivial. It's a big thing to them because that puts you guys in hot water when you say that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to give you guys advice. You do what you want. But when you get screwed, don't say I didn't warn you. You do not live in Birch Bay. You're going to your vacation property. That's fine. That's allowed. But you don't live there. Your home is here. Now, that kind of case like that, it can go one of two ways. It could go with a deportation, which is also known as the 5-year bans, or it could just be a simple denied entry. So if he gives you a simple denied entry and he tells you to come back showing your ties to Canada, then that's fine. And like I said, that's a separate video we can go into another time. So in that case, you are not deported. Now let's turn it around and you went down to that border and he says, where do you live? You said, I'm going to my home in Birch Bay. Oh, wrong answer. You go to secondary and he says, where do you work? Well, I do not work. For whatever reason, I don't work. And yada, yada. So he says, okay, the officer says, well, you don't have employment, sir. You say you live in Birch Bay. He said, well, my home is there. Okay, wait, let me finish, sir. You say you live in Birch Bay. You don't have employment in Canada. You have very few ties there. I think you're an intending immigrant, especially because you have a home here in Birch Bay. And he said, well, no. I said, no, you know what, sir? I'm going to give you a 5-year ban. He could give you a 5-year ban on the spot if he feels like it, especially if you give him flack for it. There's a good chance you could get a 5-year ban. And also, especially if this is your third warning. You guys need to understand you're dealing with Homeland officers with the Office of Department of Homeland Security. Okay, so I was a federal officer in the past as well, and we used to enforce these same laws. So these guards, I don't want to say guards, I don't want to insult them, but these officers don't play. So, but now you get that 5-year ban and expedited removal. Now you have been deported. So when you say, "Oh, I got a 5-year ban," yes, but what he may or may not have told you is you also received a deportation. And with that deportation, certain things you have to do in order to re-enter the USA. That's whether the 5-year ban is the normal one where I'm trying to say things in a way that the discount waiver companies can't use to keep their lights on and doors open. But some of the 5-year bans are done in a way where they're permanent. Some of the bans are only for the 5 years and then they're over. But even when the 5 years are over, let's say if you get the ban where it's only 5 years, we won't talk about permanent, and you go down to that border, if the same items reoccur that cause you to get the 5-year ban, you're in trouble again. So you guys got some of you guys, not all, some of you guys, you got to pull your head out of the sand and realize this is not La La Land or Never Never Land. This is dealing with federal officers at a U.S. port of entry. You got to be on your game. You got to be on your P's and Q's when you deal with these officers, because if not, you get the wrong one, you will get screwed. And I hate to say a lot of it, you guys bring on yourselves, but that's why we're here to help you, because we know how to, how can I say it? We know how to ensure that that event does not occur, or if it does occur, we know how to soften the impact, so to speak, and get you guys cleared. So yeah, so a simple denied entry is just a simple denied entry for, let's say, ties and equities, or if the guard thinks you don't have employment, he can just turn you around, or he can give you a ban for that, or he can give you a deportation for that. So it's all done on a case-by-case basis. So general rule for deportation, a formal removal where certain documentation is required to be presented and approved, not locally, but by the headquarters. But a simple denied entry is when you're turned around and given receiving a, it's hard to explain to you guys. It's kind of like when you're turned around, you received a simple denial of your entrance to the USA and no formal documentation that has to be approved by the headquarters is required. When they ask for the ties and equities, that's not really, that's documentation, but that doesn't have to get approval from the headquarters. That can be approved locally. That makes it a bit more clear. But if it has to go to the headquarters to get approved, you've likely been deported. And if you get an expedited removal and 5-year ban, that is a deportation. If the officer turns you around and says that you are denied entry because he thinks you're moving there because you don't have strong ties, that's not always or necessarily a deportation, especially if he says, just bring these ties and come back. If the officer says, don't come back without a waiver, you've been deported. So in terms of the 5-year ban anyway. So some of this stuff, it gets a bit confusing, not to us, but to you guys. We're trying to keep it on layman's terms as best we can. We're also, like I said before, we're trying to talk around it in a way that the discount waiver companies can't use it or market it so they can keep the doors open and lights on. Because the thing is, what's happening is Batman's pardons and waivers, they're scouring the channel constantly looking for this material and try to reverse engineer it and market it. But 99 times out of 100, they can't really get much that they can really use because of how we present it. And I know because the feedback we get from people who have dealt with these other places and people we know who work for these companies that our friends give us on-site intel. So I don't want to get into that one too much, but trust me, we know what's going on within a lot of them. And I won't say too much more about that because I don't want those people that we know get the hand smacked or say, But trust me, we know what goes on there. That's all I will say. Leave it at that. So anyway, getting back to the topic, deportation, this hand, denied entry, this hand. Sometimes, I don't want to say they're one and the same, but sometimes they can go either way. That's the best way to explain it. So hopefully this made sense to you guys. It's pretty clear. But deportation, formal removal, where approval of an application is required for you to gain entry back to the USA. Denied entry, simple denied entry, where you were told to go home and come back with the proper documents to show that you are admissible. They also do the simple denied entry issues or cases where the guard sees your conviction, he doesn't quite know which way it will go, so he'll ask for the court file, and when he does, depending upon what's in that court file, you could actually be required to obtain a waiver or you can be let in. Which is why we always tell you guys, if that happens, you come to us right away, because there's certain things they're going to look for. They won't tell you guys that we know what they need and what they don't need. Let's just leave it at that. So again, don't want to bore you guys too much. It's a Friday, it's August 26th. The weather is nice and overcast now and cloudy, which is what I really, really like. I hate that hot weather. It's been almost like 28 to 30 degrees this week. So today I'm here all alone. It's a quiet day. So I thought I'd catch up on some paperwork, some maintenance, and that's pretty much it. Staff members are gone. So anyway, Ken Scott, Senior, U.S. Immigration Law Intelligence Analyst with www.usentryWaiverServices.com. And that's 888-908-3841 or 604-562-8140. All right, guys, have a great weekend. As you know, as what I always say, live long and prosper. Why you should be denied entry to that country. So, if you're denied entry to the United States for criminality, maybe, had a bar fight, or maybe you were accused of, I don't know, it's okay. You didn't do it. This is what you want to do. You may need a U.S. entry waiver. You may, or you may not. If you do, you want to use sendittoken.com. Sendittoken.com. And once you use sendittoken.com, we can get you cleared to enter the United States. Does not matter what your conviction is, whether it's for or
Nothing is
matter.
impossible.
Why? Because we're there. You need us.
Send it to Ken.com.
I gotta tell you, folks, wait till Hulk Hogan comes out here. The roof is gonna come off the Bell Center here in Montreal. As the anticipation builds, you can feel it. The legendary Hulk Hogan is a heartbeat away